Hello, I'm Michael Wickerson, and welcome to Wickerson Studios. I am starting to value myself a little bit more. Here is the second and third chapters of the one-liner for Python, translated into working ghPython remote node setups. If you want to get access to this, I've got a master basic set GH script along with all the individual scripts and all of the Wickerson Studio user objects. You may ask what those are. Well, those are basically the fact that I very rarely leave the scripts in a Python form, and I put them over into these custom objects that you have to download from my GitHub, which means they're private repositories, and you'd better jump on to Patreon to get access to those. And that's just a fact. And like I said, I'm starting to value my work. This is an awful lot of work to make $3 a month for one person. So I'm doing it to learn and advance my own head. I've gone through all these in past videos, and let's just finish up the last series. Pretty simple. It's going to set us off into the final chapter, which is not the final chapter, the second last chapter, which is intermediate advanced machine learning. And we're going to be using the scikit-learn library after that. But this session was amazing. This one, to go through the data science section of it, chapter 3, if fully in detail, it got me up and running. Now, I guess I should say, sorry for jumping around, you've got to get into the fact that you can use Rhino remote node setup. It's just the way it has to be. You've got to learn, and I'm solving my one issue I was having with types because I noticed it was coming through the pandas library. I'm still working on that one to get that one up and running. I think through data types and sources and things like that, or series. I can't really remember yet, but it's getting in there. Most everything is up and running now, and I'm very excited to see that going. And I'm using my Anaconda. I'm using this. Who knows what I'm using? I'm using one of these shells to work on it through Anaconda. So I'm glad I did some research in Linux, and I'm not afraid of the command line because this is getting deeper and deeper and deeper. So let's cover the last few. Pretty simple stuff. Absolute value cluster, not too hard going in, downloading the libraries I need. There's a little trick when I was using the matplot library to hit Q so you can get back out. But basically, arrays can be pulled in as printing those arrays or printing the absolute value of those arrays. And you're going to need SciPy to do that. So I figured that one out, and that script's up and running. So there you go. Perform logical operations, performing the logical and operation. This one jumps in the same. It says, starting here, element-wise logical and operation, combine two Boolean arrays A and B, get back an array that combines the individual Boolean values using logical operators. So if you have two arrays, and there they are, Booleans, you can pull them out and say which ones are and out of A and B, and that will give you back your outcome and will show you that which ones are both true, and that's going to be not the first one, but yes, the second, third, and not the fourth. So that's a pretty easy system to figure out. So it's all pretty basic stuff, but you've got to get in here and get it up and running on remote Python, or else it doesn't work. I'm now looking into hops and the using of functions, and that's coming out in the last couple of months. So that's going to be really exciting to see where that ends up going. But until I get into that deep, here's an example of this. I guess I used an example of what does it do? It finds the outliers that deviate more than the standard deviation from their mean statistics. So pretty simple. You're going to have to you're going to use this to find the mean and the standard deviation all within one liner, because that's what this whole thing is about. And then this one liner is too long to write out, but it actually is a really nice way of finding which one combines all three, and it does that through a multiplication operator. So pretty cool to see the outcome of that. And there you go. You end up with this one, 1065.44, wherever you put it. Okay, and then the next one was associate analysis, which is what we end with. People who bought X will end up buying Y, and this one's using everything you've learned. So you jump into this one, and they're talking about associated analysis, like social proof, psychological safety, and buying items. So we look at this list and find out true or false of people bought. So these are the people all within the rows, and these are all the items they bought within columns, and saying which ones are buying, all of these units. And there's what did I write here? Co-purchases, co-purchases. Oh, it's just a weird looking word when you write it out. And they put it in their baskets. You're going to be using the slicing you used. You're going to be using the broadcasting that you've been coming across. And you're going to be using the different axes that you need to get your answers. So if you're looking down the column, you lose 1 instead of 0. And this will give you the correct data. You start to analyze this and get into it even more. Now, you can get the book and do this all yourself, but you still have to analyze it and try and pull it in the Grasshopper, which isn't too hard. And that's why these scripts and these user objects and these forms that I spent so much time doing, I think they're actually having more and more value. And once I get that pandas up and running, I'll have that type set. And I'm so happy with this. Got 99% of these scripts figured out in chapter 3, and I'm going to go hard into chapter 4. The same data that we were doing here was really nice of extending it even further using the keys, using the max function, and then setting up like some for loops within it, which were really exciting to basically go into here and say, okay, which ones of these two things were bought, and how many times were those two things bought? So if 1 and 2 were bought, if the columns of this item, column 1 and column 0 and column 1 were bought, then that's going to say 4 times that happened. You can see that in here, 1, 2, 3, 4. It actually locates the indices that actually do that, and then it's saying which one's buying the most, and obviously it is columns 1 and 2 is being bought the most products, let's say A, B, C, D, so B and C are being bought the most. The course, the 1E course, and the second E course, and the first ebook. And they come up 5 times in that list. So really nice data analysis. Now that sets us up to the end, and let's just read it because that's where it gets so awesome. Let's clear it up. We've got everything else here. The summary is simple. You've learned about elementary NumPy basics, arrays, shapes, axes, types, broadcasting, advanced indexing, slicing, sorting, searching, aggregating, and statistics. That happens in this chapter through this one-liner, and things I've always danced around, like what was NumPy for? What is SciPy for? What are pandas for? What is the matplot library for? I'd done this in Jupyter. I'd done this in all these other programs. And I was like, well, Grasshopper is really what's dragged me all back into coding. So it's very nice to pull this back in. You've improved your basic Python skills. List comprehension logics and Lambda functions are the key. The one-liner Lambda functions. Get those in place. The X and Y, you've got an operator coming out of the how does that put again? It's so simple. And here I am saying it wrong. I don't want to mess it up. Yeah, you basically have the arguments, and then you have the expression come back from those arguments. So Lambda works so simply, and I've been trying to wrap my head around that. And then you've learned to read, write, and understand concise code quickly. So you're looking at one-liner code, and it's actually making some slicing sense, some list sense. And those brackets are making more and more sense as you learn this. Now on to scikit-learn library, machine learning. I'm so excited about chapter 4. And machine learning is found in almost every area of computer science over the past few years, and it really just says, let's get into it and see where it goes. And I'm going to be using the scikit-learn library, which means it'll bring me back. I'll start the next file right here. Let's start with it, and we will go save, and then we will go file, save as. We're going to save this one as intermediate advanced, because that's where we're going. Intermediate underscore advanced. We're not quite there because we're going to end with that. Advanced, and I like cap locks. And this will not be the master. This will be the initial one. And our first script, we will just probably deal with, oh my gosh, when does it even get started? It teaches us all about machine learning. We're going to probably go in and start with linear regression. So the first one we'll do in this script will be linear regression, which is pretty common, and I just did it totally wrong because I have my cap locks on. So linear regression. We're going to call that 001 on the advanced level. Let's save it, and then in doing so, we are going to get rid of all of this junk because we don't need it. We don't need any of this. We don't need any of that. But what we do need is linear regression to start. I've got my base script here, which is probably the older one. And it is. And I don't want that. So hang on one second. Let's go back. Bring it back. I apologize for this. But just so you see, I'm building upon the other scripts as I go. That's just a lot of info. Oh, it's running that one with the matplot library whenever I do it. So this is really the one that I want, the base jazz right here. We're going to bring that one in. The reason I'm bringing that one in, I'll show you in a second, is delete all this. And we'll delete all this. And we're going to jump in here and we're going to say, okay, let's start with machine learning. There we go. Yeah, let's go into machine learning. And we're going to use scikit-learn. And that's how we're going to begin. And it looks better when you spell it the way it's intended. Scikit-learn. 1 second, Ella. I got a young 4-year-old here that's all in the machine learning. She can't get enough of it. And there it is. And then you can see these base scripts. Like this one was here. And I should probably make it a user object because I'm using it so often. I don't need that one because that's what started. And I'm hoping one of those hitting OK, base script, that becomes irrelevant. This becomes the one we use to start. And actually, a lot of this has everything else I was trying to get up and running. Like I said, I was having trouble with Python in the end, but there's a little bit of warnings in there. As I get scikit-learn, that's going to be where I go with this. So this one's set, and I've got to start bringing in scikit-learn here. And this is where we'll just get a jump off from. And we will call this one, hang on, Ella, please. We're going to call this one outliers. And we will do underscore advanced. And that's it. Ready to go. Save and save. 1 second, I got a little girl here. She's having fun. We are ready to kick this off and get into our script. So thank you very much.